Hello, hello, hello. It is episode 8 of Dissonant Waves. Hello.
I
Howdy.
don't know if I should respond to that accent.
I don't know what this accent is. I'm just talking.
It feels like you're intentionally doing something with your voice there, mate.
A little bit, yeah. I don't know what though.
Gonna be an interesting episode.
When the wind changes, your face is gonna get stuck that way.
But hello, yes, hello. I am Dominic. I am here once again. And then the other two are here.
Welcome to one person likes an album, and then the other two shit talking it for an hour.
Pretty
The
much.
podcast.
Is this gonna be a three-way shit talk? I'm excited.
I don't actually have much shit talking for any of these albums this week, which is nice.
Ooh, oh.
Yeah. I don't have too much talking. My listening was a bit impacted, but from everything I heard, I was like, yeah, this is some nice Tony Hawk's background music.
We go.
Playing a lot of Xbox yesterday.
We Go On is a really great Tony Hawk track. Riddleman's here, Trix is here.
Yep.
Apparently, there was another song of that Distillers album, and that was the Tony Hawk track. It couldn't have been, right?
Yeah, Death Sex, that's a great Tony Hawk track. 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Like Free Skate? Oh, yeah.
First time I heard Death Sex, I actually, I pressed the Xbox button so I could check exactly what song the song was, and I was just like, can you stop?
I kind of enjoy it. So I guess we're gonna go on to the Distillers first.
Distillers is up first. Coral Fang, hello.
It's an interesting
like
choice.
I commented that it was basically an OC song.
I feel like OC's fans are gonna like upset you. Well, you've upset them, sorry. I ain't thinking too straight.
In the flavor of the noise.
It's noisy.
I actually posted a 2004 OCS song, if you guys checked that out, where it's just an acoustic track and John Dwyer is being all sad and depressed about, guess we can't hang out.
Oh, he's Mike Crolling it?
Yeah, except all acoustic, no distortion.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll get to that eventually.
Maybe, we'll see.
Yeah, the Coral Fang, still the most recent album by the Distillers, with Brody Dolly as a singer and a band full of people who were not the original Distillers, but kind of just ended up that way. That fucking album's been everywhere. I had a list of what games it was in. It's actually quite large. Spider-Man 2.
I believe Distillers actually were in a couple of video games not around the time of this release, but a couple of years after they started getting into a lot of them.
Spider-Man 2, Tony Hawk's Underground 2, MTX Motor Tracks, Gran Turismo 4, Rock Band, Crash and Burn, ATV Off-Road Fury 3. Also, there was a track in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, and the True Crime, Streets of LA.
Huh. Where they've got the meme gun on the cover.
Yes. So, like Freeland, this has just been everywhere, but I didn't know about it as a kid. I found it through one thing.
I mean, this is an album I found out about because of Tony Hawk's. I mean, Beat Your Heart Out is... I listened to that song for years without looking one thing into the Distillers' discography, and when I found out that the lead singer was a girl, I was kind of like, what the fuck? Because, it's such... Like, listening to it now, I realize how gender neutral her voice actually sounds. But as a kid, I thought it kind of sounded a bit, whilst being a bit higher of a pitch, it's still, to me, it was so similar to a lot of the male pop punk artists that I had been listening to that I just automatically assumed.
Yeah, I can understand that. I hear a bit of a feminine twinge to myself. That might just me being having like selective bias or something. But
I mean, I think "Beat Your Heart Out" is probably one of the more feminine sounding tracks, personally.
Well, on the other side of the spectrum, Silver Sun Pickups, which has like a similar vocal structure, I thought he was a girl. So I'm just terrible at this.
I mean, as a kid, I thought Geddy Lee was a girl.
Yeah, well, that one's a bit different. So did I. Most important thing is it's still entertaining music.
Yeah, I think Trix, you talked about how you like having good. It's a she's a baritone, right?
More tenor, I'd say,
Oh wow.
but like low alto tenor kind of.
It was Nani a baritone then? Can't
She
remember.
was a baritone.
Okay, because I remember we talked about that then. I'm like, I couldn't remember Brody Dolly was quite there, but I was thinking of you when picking this.
Yeah, because you did mention this when we did the Anoni.
Did we? Okay.
Yeah,
I'll,
but
I
yeah,
I feel weird saying this, but I feel like this album could have been a lot more.
yeah.
This-
Yeah, I definitely agree with this. And going back into the it sounded so similar that I kind of assumed it's kind of this album's blessing and its curse. It sounds like a lot of what made this genre great,
Yeah.
but because it sounds so much like that, there's just not really much off here that makes it stand out, in my opinion. Like the tracks here are well executed. I couldn't say, oh, this song has bad production, or this song has like a bad songwriting or bad lyrics, because that doesn't really exist on here. But it's just the sounds of the Tony Hawk soundtrack, and it's great. I will still listen to them,
Oh yeah.
but they're not anything too special individually. Sometimes, like there were some songs off Underground too,
Mhm.
which I listen to a lot, like Unknown Soldier. I've never listened to the Casualties outside of that game, but that's a song that's just so great for me to listen to in Tony
Sure.
Hawk's Underground too. And the Distillers Beat Your Heart Out is up there as well. It's great when you're playing the game, and it's still a good song. I'll still have this play randomly individually, but realistically for me, I didn't grow up with the Distillers outside of that game, and nothing here is really making me want to grow up the rest of my life with them. It's an alright album, but it's just there.
That's a great bird. That's a great verb.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree. Like I had this album for a while because I really like Brody Dale's voice, or Dale's voice, or Brody Dale. I don't know. But I think the thing with this album is that that's all this band really has, is she has a great, unique voice. Everything else is pretty pedestrian.
Yeah, it's riding off her voice.
Like there are some
Everything else
songs,
is box standard pop punk.
like stuff like The Hunger is cool, where it gets more acoustic and stripped back a little bit, but they still kind of throw in some of the pop punk. I think like Death Sex being 12 minutes long is at least a thing to talk about.
Yeah.
See, I kind of disagree, and I think this album really only kind of shines when the songs are shorter, because
Yes.
when they get longer, it feels like they've kind of just stretched it out for no reason.
Yes.
Just in my opinion, and that's how I feel about Death Sex. It's like, okay, it's cool they're trying some ambient stuff on here, but realistically, what is the reason for that? There are only a few times which I actually have liked a pretty drawn out track at the end of an album. Even in those cases, they haven't even been close to my favorite moments. Like we all know, I wasn't too fond of Pre-Sister swallowing a donkey's eye.
Sure, yeah.
Uh,
Is anyone really fond of that track?
I mean, I can appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, like
as a musician and understanding like impressionist and expressionist music and how that was
as a tone piece, as a coda to April 8th, I totally dig that, but it's a chore to listen to.
Oh yeah,
and then go back.
Have you listened to any Philip Glass? Like, oof.
Well, I was saying, then like go back to like the Microphones, My Warm Blood, which I think that one fits better as it, because it's supposed to be him bleeding out.
Sure.
And I respect the concept, sticking to the concept, but even I think that gets a little bit too drawn out
Yeah.
as it goes on in it. And here, it doesn't really build up to anything, as it is just
No.
a very long static outro. And for that reason, it's just like, why? Like the album could have just ended and it would have been fine.
Like they do,
There's actually just no reason for it.
they do have different sections of the song. At least they do have a breakout drum and guitar section. They do have like, oh, it kind of sounds like their fucking section. You could hear some like ambient talking here and there. Something about dicks, I heard. But it could have been 6 minutes, and it probably would have been better for it.
Yeah, let's see if,
Yeah, not the fucking 12 minutes it is.
Like in my mind, I kept comparing this to the other like heavy punk albums we listened to, like Transgender Dysphoria Blues and The Adolescents, and this does not touch either of those.
Well, I wouldn't even say The Adolescents touches Transgender Dysphoria Blues, to be honest.
that album is beautiful.
Transgender Dysphoria Blues, you mean?
Yeah, I probably
Yeah.
said it completely wrong, but that's fine. I only just say everything wrong in my life.
No, I just wasn't sure which album you were referring to as being beautiful.
Yeah. No, sorry. Yeah, no. Transgender Dysphoria Blues is definitely like miles ahead of Adolescence is a fine album, but it's got its problems.
Well, it's got its problems, but it has like the short songs.
Can't Live in a World This Gay is still not a good lyric. I don't think it was a good lyric back then.
No, I agree. But like it has the short songs, it has a lot of memorable songs, and like this is just bog standard pop punk with a good voice.
Yeah.
And I'm a little disappointed in that. I know it's never the biggest fan of this album, but I felt, bring it on here, give it its due, and see if I can like how much I appreciate it. And I don't know, it's fine is the end result, I guess.
I think it's a good idea to cover the Distillers at some point anyway. Like we can't kid ourselves and say that Brody Daly is just another a voice in pop punk. She does have quite a bit of history to early noughties pop punk.
I didn't know how this popular they were. I'm surprised how much I did not know. Like,
and then obviously there's the well publicized relationship she had with Josh Homme. We don't need to go full depth into that. Anyone who wants to go on that, you can just go on Wikipedia and take 20 minutes into a hole there.
That and Tim Armstrong as well. Equally as yeah.
Realistically, those are pretty irrelevant to the album we're covering here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Granted, that doesn't always stop us, but
no, but I mean, I think it is important to mention is like she is a figure in the music world. It was really popular at one point. Her voice was in a lot of places, and her life was just also there in the media, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I think it's nice that she's been able to like carve out this part of the music world for her and have this unique voice be in all these places. Like, you can hear her in ATV games. You can hear her in Spider-Man. The Distillers did a version of the Spider-Man song for Spider-Man 2: The Game. That's really cool.
The 60s theme song, that was neat.
And I'm sure I've heard it before, but never put it together. Who did it?
Nothing really beats the Ramones version, though, in my opinion.
I mean,
the Ramones are a suck cunts, but like it's a great cover.
I do like the version they have in the movie, where it's just like someone on the street corner. But that's neither.
It's been a while. Yeah.
I think it's just like an old woman with like a fiddle or something on the corner, like just doing it as like a joke, as like a Sam Raimi joke.
Well, here's the thing, just like about the Raimi trilogy, though, is like Spider-Man 3 at the time left such a bad taste in my mouth that it just like I never wanted to go back and watch it. And now after the Amazing Spider-Man, that's now really the only bad thing about Spider-Man 3 compared to fucking Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, which holy fuck were those terrible. And that just turned me off Spider-Man movies in general. Like the only one I saw since Amazing Spider-Man 2 was Into the Spider-Verse, which was actually good.
And Nicolas Cage is in that one, surprisingly.
I do.
What he plays in that?
He played the noir Spider-Man.
That's right.
I think Spider-Man 3 got better with age, ironically. I think it's a movie that had its issues, but like there are things to appreciate if you understand what they're trying to do. With certain sections, at least.
I hate Amazing Spider-Man 2 so much more because Amazing Spider-Man 2 made all the mistakes that Spider-Man 3 showed that you can't actually have all these supervillains
Agreed.
start from scratch in a movie and
Agreed.
expect it to work. And then Amazing Spider-Man 2 did that again. Why?
You're talking about the Garfield Spider-Man, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the Garfield. Yeah.
And Amazing
And
Spider-Man 1 had like one of the worst endings I've ever seen to a superhero film.
I can't even remember it was that boring.
It's the thing where all the construction workers are so willing to help Spider-Man, they raise their cranes so he can swing to the tower.
That's right. That was stupid.
But he saved some boy's life or something.
Yeah, it's not. It's like in Spider-Man 2 at the end of that, and I don't know how this became a movie chat, but we'll quickly talk about Spider-Man. And Spider-Man 2, the whole kind of like everybody helps him is literally after he saves the train.
And that's a great moment.
From that,
Yeah.
and then they all see his identity, but because they saved him, they actually repay it and just don't. And they actually keep it within themselves. That's a great moment. And then, yeah, I'm now remembering that bloody Amazing Spider-Man. It's just, yeah, we just got the cranes. Everybody helps Spider-Man. It just sound good in the trailer.
Yeah, like they're in Spider-Man 2, they're like carrying him over their shoulders, like putting him down gently, like revering him as a fallen hero kind of thing. There's like intent and like care crafted into that scene. Sam Raimi is a great director. Mark Webb,
Spider-Man 3 just missed the mark.
I do think intentionally making him cringy is really great. I love that, but that's for another time. But you know,
Anyway.
the Distillers, fine. I did what I wanted to do.
It's an album.
Yeah.
It's probably, as of the episodes we've listened to so far, is my least favorite of this week and probably down there for me.
Yeah,
I just say it's an album. That's if there was any album that you could just, if someone wanted a recommendation, we'll just say for pop punk or anything like that.
Yeah.
And they just want to say they don't want anything special, they just wanted a pop punk album, I would just give them this.
Yeah, that's fine.
And if you're looking for it, you got to be happy. The songs are well executed on here. If you're looking for something interesting and memorable, go back to Blink-182 when they were good.
Were they ever good?
Yeah, they were legitimately good in the 90s. And
all the small things.
You see, Enema of the State, still a fantastic album, but Dude Ranch, mwah.
I can only name like half a dozen Blink-182 songs, and I think all that I really.
Look, I listened to like new Blink when they came out, and California had songs that were alright if you're just like looking for straight up pop punk, but it also had some really air songs. And then I go back to old Blink, and I'm like, these are actually still good. These actually hold up. So it's not were Blink ever good, because they were. They're just trash now. And someone told Travis Barker that just because you played drums like a normal person doesn't mean you get the feature credit on an Amy Shark song. Please, it was terrible. That song was terrible. Why did you want the feature credit anyway?
Why did Johnny Marr want the feature credit? That's my question.
Well, the difference is that the Divine Chord is a better song.
Okay.
Yeah.
But before we get there,
Anyway.
let's wrap up Distillers. There's not much more to say, unfortunately. It's an interesting experiment, and Brody Dolly's cool. That's it.
Yeah.
Favorite is Beat Your Heart Out because of the Fug 2, that, and plus it probably actually is the best song off this album in my opinion. And at least favorite is just Death Sex. Just it doesn't work.
My favorite is either Die on a Rope or Coral Fang. And least favorite is either The Gallow is God or Death Sex.
Favorite? If you ask me a song I could like tell you about, as in like, can I remember anything from it? Probably Dismantle Me. Coral Fang's also pretty good. Least favorite's probably somewhere like Gallow is God, or like, I mean, Death Sex is not the worst thing, but it's just 12 minutes of ambience that's not fun to listen to exactly. A lot of it's just fine. It's just there.
Now, are we moving on to a better album?
I don't know. Are we?
Yeah, we are. We're moving on to the Avalanches.
Can I give you my hot take?
You're not gonna like this album.
It has the same problem that Distillers does. There's so much they could have done. There's so much potential. There's so much, and it's just kind of there sometimes.
Yeah.
Look, I like this album. But I will admit it is the Avalanche's weakest effort. But that was always going to happen when their first two albums are as fantastic as they are. Like Since I Left You is one of my favorite albums of all time. Wildflower back in 2016, I actually gave my album of the year.
Still want to listen to that. Still haven't, but
I'll bring it up at some point. But this was definitely an album I was hyped for. The singles didn't grab me so much besides Running Red Lights, which that song's just devastating when you know the context of the David Berman quotes in there. And Rivers Cuomo actually probably gives him one of his strongest vocal performances in a long time on that track.
yeah, I do like having Rivers Cuomo again on this podcast. Kind of, he was a little bit around for the Aubrey's episode, but this is more of a thing for him.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some absolutely great collaborations on here.
Yes,
The MGMT Johnny Marr collaboration is one of the strongest tracks off this record.
I think that's probably my favorite.
I'm actually still debating if it's The Divine Chord or Running Red Lights, which is my favorite. It's Divine Chord is just so. This album
really.
is the kind of this album's kind of their foray into dream pop, and
Yes,
it's very nostalgic, is what they're trying to bring on this record, and I think they do successfully do that quite a lot in here. And Divine Chord is where they've really succeeded on that. MGMT coming in with their vocals and instrumentations are great on that. Johnny Marr probably just playing the bass on that.
yeah, just the guitar. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Still getting that credit.
He's the guitarist for the Smiths.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for the context.
There are other moments on here where I think the people who collaborated on it do some really great performances, like Take Care and You're Dreaming, Sampa the Great, and Denzel Curry do some really great verses on there. Especially, usually I give more praise to Denzel, but I think I actually prefer Sampa the Great on this track.
So I think we all like different parts of this album. That's what it comes down to. Because my favorite part is Oh the Sun and We Go On.
Well, I was gonna say, I do, unlike the past two Avalanches albums, which I think are probably perfect. Like I like Wildflower quite a lot. I think that does have some very small issues, but if there's like albums that I would give a 10, Wildflower is pretty close to that. This one I like, but it's more in the 7 to 8 range for me. Which, knowing my bias of Avalanches, probably means a lot more. But one thing I think this album does drag out a bit too much on is kind of all these interludes that are kind of a bit too similar to the track that's following, and it doesn't do too much different. Like, it's cool Karen O makes an appearance on here, but
yeah,
that moment could have easily been something else, I reckon. And I do agree, yeah, there are definitely moments on this album that could have been much more than they were. But
like
I do think there are some moments on here which are brilliant, some of Avalanche's finest work. But obviously they can't all. What's the Primus album? Is it they can't all be singers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I do like some of the things they've done with this album, like the cover image being Andrugian, like run through a spectrograph, turn to sound, and then process back into an image, according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, it's a beautiful album art.
And like I think Starsong.img is a similar thing, but for Barbara Payton, if I'm remembering that correctly. Like it's just the sound version of the Payton image.
There's a bit of Barbara Payton references on here,
which is an interesting, cool thing.
And then I just want to point out some of the other collaborators on this album.
The Kurt Vile thing, it's cool.
Yeah, Kurt Vile was an interesting one to be on here. I'm not sure if you two are familiar with Superorganism.
Not really.
No.
Well, that's where Arona's from. So she's like an 18-year-old. I think she's 18. She can't be a bit older than that. Like Japanese singer who sings for Superorganism, which is like this collective of people who met over the internet.
I feel like I actually have heard of them.
I think
Their album, it was something I wanted to cover. I haven't, because it's just really interesting and has all these odd sounds. And if you watch their Tiny Desk, they literally bring out a fishbowl and like start flicking it to produce some of the sounds.
That's hilarious.
Can we rate her voicemail in terms of our voicemail rankings?
It's not bad, but it's not fantastic, I reckon.
Like it's sad. It's like it made me wonder: is she like leaving or is she dying, kind of thing?
I know there's this constant theme that song brings up of the and this album of the "We Will Always Love You," which is, I think that's just something that's just brought in there because this album's main theme is nostalgia.
Yeah, and I think it fits that. I think it's a great like starting point.
Yeah.
But
like the actual voicemail itself is like, yeah, but it's like kind of good at points, a bit at points, but
better than Frank Ocean.
But definitely, Frank Ocean's still the worst,
and probably but below like some of the Petite Leagues and the Dune Rats one.
I reckon Dune Rats one is probably the best because it's so fucking funny.
Crazy motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's a good one. I still think down that road.
It's the context.
Yeah.
Down that road's up there because it's just the context that they've literally just got in this fucking voicemail and just wrote a song about it.
Yeah, those are probably the two best ones, and then this is somewhere in the middle.
But this one definitely belongs so much more, and that's with the whole "We Will Always Love You" kind of thing.
Sure.
It's this kind of whole thing of thinking back that's on there. Running Red Lights, if you see the music video for that, is like the whole point is this guy is like trying to win back his partner, but it's been so long, like he's been lost in it for so long that his partner's actually moved on to somebody else.
Right.
That obviously uses the actual song itself. It kind of talks a bit about escapism and stuff like that, but also depression because it uses lines from David Berman's song as Purple Mountain's Darkness and Cold, which very, very lively song title if you ever heard one, which is the lyrics of Light of My Life is Going Out Tonight in a pink champagne Corvette, which is referencing David Berman's ex-wife at the time.
Is that what Dialogue for Devotion is then about? Is that quote drawn out?
Yeah. So that's literally Darkness and Cold lyrics.
Yeah, that's cool. I think one of the highlights in the later part of the album is Pink Sifu.
Yeah,
that's how you pronounce it.
Always Black, and his part
yes.
during the lyrics on for Darkness and Cold are definitely some of the highlights of this album.
Yes.
I've never heard of Pink Seafood before this.
I haven't either.
I almost said Pink Seafood.
That's what I thought you first said until I looked at the
yeah.
Until I looked closely, I thought it was Pink Sleefu, but I'm glad it's seafood. That's a cool sound.
But he does such a great job on this record, and it's so great that Avalanches still do that. They collaborate with artists that you might have not heard of. Like they go from artists who are quite well known, from like MGMT and Denzel Curry, to lesser known ones like Pink Sifu, or I mean, how many people have you heard of that know of a Superorganism or Sampa the Great?
I mean, I know Jamie XX. That wherever you go, it does sound like a Jamie XX song, kind of. But that's probably the only thing I would attribute to him being there. Again, I think
I like Wherever You Go, like in the context of this album. It didn't grab me so much as a single, but I think all the singles have like really held up in the context of this album. And I know it's gonna feel weird for me like to criticize this album, not go perfect with how much praise I give a lot of the performance. Like everyone who's collaborated on this album, whether or not the part of it be a bit pretentious, be a bit drawn out or stuff like that, everyone who's collaborated on this album has done such a great job.
Yes. Nene Cherry's done a great job. Blood Orange does a great job. I have no problem with the features at all. I do think some of them are weird to like. Oh yeah, Johnny Marr's on the guitar. Let's.
Yeah, I will say I really enjoy the combination of like modern features and people who are like huge in the '90s.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like there's definitely like a nostalgic twinge to that. Like if you grew up with the XX, it's nice to hear more XX themed stuff a little bit. But I still feel like if you go in for dream pop, it hits that sometimes, but it still feels like there's more to explore with this. Like I feel like they try to hit their beats more than they try to really explore the genre.
So I also wanted to say, like, you said that the album. Did you say that the album didn't really start until "Oh the Sun We Go On," or
No, that's just my favorite part.
that's just your favorite part? So would you agree though that like the opening kind of stretch and the Blood Orange collaboration is just such, because the Blood Orange collaboration is kind of where I feel like the album really starts to kind of kick in.
It's a good part. I don't have a problem with it. Like I also really like Reflecting Light and stuff like that.
Mm.
I just feel like throughout that whole part of it, like I'm like this is probably partially my fault, but I'm kind of waiting for that emotional hit that you get from like Since I Left You. And it's dream pop, so it's necessarily not necessarily going to hit that, right? But I don't feel like they really hit that either.
I think the emotional hit is Running Red Lights, and that for me it's a bit understandable if you don't get that, because you really. The first time I heard that and I heard the Darkness and Cold lyrics, I was just like, fucking hell.
Like I liked it.
I listened to Purple Mountains when it came out, and I love Silver Jew's American Water. It's one of my favorite indie rock albums. And like David Berman's death, I wasn't grew up with him so much. I experienced it so much that it hit me hard, but it was something that was still like, well, fuck. That kind of sucks. And hearing this stuff, like listening to David Berman's music for pretty much constantly the past year before this, that was a moment that kind of just hit me hard and still kind of does.
I understand that, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I guess I can't accurately really bring my point across. I don't know, Trix. I think you were saying something similar to me though.
Yeah, I feel like there's too much fat on this album. If that makes sense. Like
I do believe this is their longest album as well, so
I feel like you could cut
yeah.
almost half of it, and it would be a better album.
I disagree with half, but I do think there is quite a bit that I could cut. Like I'll go on with some songs here that I don't think are so interesting, and whether or not they turn out to be a hot take, we'll find out. I don't think Music Make Me High is that interesting.
No.
Interstellar Love, Leon Bridges, you're doing your stuff. I would say his songs are probably just the weakest, and it's not his fault. They're just kind of there. And I do like the "Oh the Sun We Go On," and then I don't know. It kind of like Until Daylight Comes, just kind of there as well.
I think Weightless is almost there.
Comes in. Which one?
Weightless.
Yeah, I don't mind Weightless, but I do agree there is some fat on this album, but there is no bad moment on this record. I think there was I think there are some high peaks personally. I think there are high peaks. I think are pretty average for, but
I think if you
understand, because I listened to a lot of dream pop in my time. I brought up dream pop before, and it didn't quite get the reception I was hoping to. Remember back with Japanese Wallpaper, which I loved the shit out of, and then you two kind of both disagreed on which one was worse.
I think if you ignore everything and just let it play as an experience, that might be better.
Yeah.
But I think because we listened to Since I Left You, and that is such a powerful thing all the way through.
Alright, well, it just doesn't. Yeah, I wouldn't put this anywhere near Since I Left You. I wouldn't even really put Wildflower between that. But Since I Left You is generally one of my favorite records ever, and that's something that's just gonna be hard to beat. So it's I try not to compare it to Since
Right.
I Left You.
That's understandable. Like my big emotional moment was that Karen Carpenter sample in what is it? We Go On. Because that one little line of fighting each other, we go on. That is such it's a really just nice clip. It just really hits me, and that's like the moment I'm like, oh, this is really really good. And Oh the Sun kind of hits that as well. And I guess I was looking for more of that moment when it all clicks together. And I do like dream pop when it clicks together. Like there are some dream pop that I really really like that. Like so much of it is all just about how it hits me. You know.
Look, I will say though, I think you are incorrect about the Divine Chord. I think this is up there with one. It's up there with personally for me with Running Red Lights for best track off this album, and a way that it just comes after the title track.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so good, and I know it's a bit of a meme for Johnny Marr to be in the feature part of the title, but
I feel like he can warrant a feature because he's got a distinctive guitar playing style.
Plus, he's also Johnny fucking Marr.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. As far as dream pop goes, I feel like it does come off a little bit as like they're trying it out. They're no Beach House. They're no Purity Ring. You know, they're no Tangerine Dream or anything like that.
Yeah, this is a band that's pretty much done zero dream pop during a dream pop album.
At the same time, though, they're also not Daft Punk doing funk. You know.
Yeah.
Rip to Daft Punk.
I think this is the most 6.5 out of 10 albums ever.
Like in terms of electronica duos, you got Daft Punk, you got Justice, and Avalanches is still, I think, fighting to be in that league. Though Since I Left You is definitely up there.
And I also want to just start. This is just the full background page of this album on Wikipedia. Sorry, there's just a bunch of drunk people talking outside, that'll be fun. Anyway, so whilst on our tour for Wildflower in early 2017, apparently Robbie Chatter left the tour to battle with his alcoholism, and then after the tour completed, which was without him, he came back and he sold most of his collection to actually finance and restart, go into a fresh mind into this album. So this album is kind of, in a way, also a true restart, reboot for the Avalanches, which makes me wonder, is this where they continue to go to? Do they try something else? The Avalanches have always been going a more psychedelic, nostalgic route since they started back up in 2016, because Wildflower tries to hit a lot of the feelings of 60s and 70s music in it. In fact, they grabbed a lot of samples from random records they found in the 60s and 70s, and this is what this album feels like as well. It isn't as sample heavy as their past two has been. There's obviously sample work in here to recreate a lot of these sounds, and it is them kind of starting to recreate more as a band, more into psychedelia, probably saying it incorrectly, themselves. I think this is an interesting experiment. I think, personally, for me, it's paid off quite a bit. It's not a perfect album. There's a bit of fat on it, and there are a bit of pretentiousness that that's in this album that's a bit hard to get past. But there are some devastating moments. There are some absolutely catchy and memorable moments on this album, and I understand that it's not everybody's going to be so hyped on this, but I enjoy this quite a lot, and I'm happy the Avalanches can still come up with an album like this. Thank you, Trix. That sounded like you just farted for 5 seconds.
I was exhaling. Sorry.
I do want to see Avalanches just give it their all to like a completely original thing. Like drop the sampling, maybe 1 or 2 samples total, and just go for it. I think
send it, buddy.
Because it's been what 21 years since they've released, or more since they've like started, and they're going in this direction. Like I think they just need to cut the cord and go.
With that, shall we move into our favorites and least favorites?
That's such a downer note to leave on. Let's start. Trix, why don't you say something nice first?
It's an alright album all around. I guess that's all I have to say. I don't really have anything positive or negative to say about it. It just kind of exists.
MGMT, baby.
Yeah, my favorites are definitely the Divine Chord and Running Red Lights, and my least favorites probably Music Makes Me High. Or Makes You High. That's Make Me High.
Meh me high, yeah.
My favorite is the Divine Chord. This album has been too long for me to pick a least favorite.
We go on. First favorite with a bullet. I also really like the idea behind starsong.img. Least favorite's probably Weightless. Yeah. Which leaves us then with our last album. Which by which? Which are you?
Yeah, I like this more than the Distillers, but like I'm just not really into this type of music.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What?
I chose this because this was like the most psychedelic stoner metal album I can think of.
Wait, did we switch bodies? What happened?
That's exactly what you're gonna say.
After Pigs X7 and all that we listened to, this and like the Slift and everything, and I wasn't very hot. I wasn't amazingly hot and all that.
This one just didn't really hit me. I respect it enough to put it above the Distillers because I everything that I think it's trying to do I appreciate, but it just doesn't hit me that much.
I just want to say that we fucking called this when you got out of the chat last week.
Probably.
This is the album that hit me, though, is what I'm trying to say. This is the one. After all of that other stuff we listened to, that's good. I like Pigs X7. This is the one that actually was like, holy shit, I really, really like this.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, what the fuck? Why are we always so different on this?
We cannot have switched bodies because I still have a sense of taste.
Hey, I lost taste in December. I got it back. I beat COVID. I am happy with that.
Then why did you choose the Distillers?
Oh man, you are gonna make a bunch of people upset about saying that Witch has no taste.
Look, J Mascis, Dinosaur Jr., I like them, so maybe that I'm biased in that. But
I enjoyed Dinosaur Jr. a lot more. I like this album. Like, don't get me wrong, it's just not really for me. I wouldn't go back to this.
Oh, I'd go back to this easily. Like I'm not, like I don't even think I've fully processed this album. Like this is like what I want to hear when I hear like Black Sabbath and all of that. Like there's like it's because time has marched on and everything. Sometimes it feels like there's like a primitiveness to the music of the 70s where it's like I can understand how people really liked it back then, and I like some of it too. Like I love Led Zeppelin, but I do feel like some of the time it's kind of like this could go harder. This could be more. There's definitely more to do here, and I don't like that so many artists are content to just be like, oh, I just really like Black Sabbath, let's just do that. No, this is an album I feel like that goes a step further and like really reaches for something.
Yeah, definitely.
Like Seer, Isadora, Changing, Rip Van Winkle. Oh my god. Like I want to take a bath in this album.
Adorable.
Bathe in the fuzz. Come to the dark side. We have fuzz pedals.
Actually, that does sound tempting.
I'm just flabbergasted that we cannot come to an agreement on which stoner rock works for us. And Trix is just here enjoying all of it.
Yeah, I every time I've seen like I browse and contribute to the stoner rock and the doom metal subreddits quite a bit, and every time that this album is brought up, it's praise across the board.
It like you like.
I mean, I can see it. I was actually looking for it though, and when I was at that heavy record shop I was on about before recording, I was actually looking for it. I was like, hey, if I can find it, I'll pick it up because maybe I'll give it a second chance one day. But I couldn't find it, so it's not going to get a second chance.
Like, I'll probably buy the Avalanches at some point, but I am definitely buying this album. Like,
that is fair. Look, I also saw Devin Townsend's Addicted for $37, and I was like, nah.
I do want to cover Devin Townsend again. There's so much to go back to, but I think this is a good replacement for now. I think King Tuff, Kyle Thomas's vocals are great. The drums, Jay Mascis on drums, kills it.
So tight drumming. Oh man.
The riffs are just interesting to listen to.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like a dad rock thing. This feels like musicians with craft and like interest.
You got like the lead part kind of going all at once in one ear and the riffs on the other ear.
Yeah, they did do a couple things where it's like you have the one ear and the second ear kind of coming in. Like they really play with stereo sound.
Yeah.
Surprised there isn't more. Like there's just 2 albums for Witch.
There's rumors that they're working on a third one. And there's a live album that I posted in the chat that I'm going to import from Sweden.
Okay. I guess they also were in Sweet Apple as well. And that's kind of an expansion.
The bass player is Dave Sweetapple.
Yes, that tracks.
Yep.
Someone else. I don't know. I can't really say too much on here. Like, I'll be quite honest, and this also helps that I didn't get as much listening done this week as I would have liked to. Can just came and went. Same with the Distillers, to be honest. But like, I liked hearing it. I liked when I was listening to it. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. But then I kind of just like, yeah, I probably won't listen to it again, and kind of forgot about it. I know it's Jay Mascis fans are gonna like actually just shave my head off for this, but I was about to say hair, but no, head is correct.
The Distillers is just so vanilla standard to me, and every song on this album is just like there is something cool about it. Whether it's something in the vocals, whether it's something about a riff that they do, whether it's just like the mixing.
Yeah. I will say their second album, Paralyzed, not as good, but their debut is amazing.
Like I feel like doing something like Rocking Out about Rip Van Winkle is like a very metal thing to do. Like that, I would almost expect that kind of thing to happen, but they make it work.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not gonna say like, oh, the songs vocally are like amazing. The lyrics are like doing a lot of work here.
Oh, the lyrics are probably the weakest part of the album.
It's occult stuff, and that's kind of what you expect. But that's not the point.
It's box standard. It's what you'd expect from a stoner metal band called Witch.
Yes, but I think the musicianship, the craft of it, makes it work.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like the Distillers being as popular as they were, again, they could have done a lot more.
Yeah. Ooh. This album just hits hard though. Like I bought it on vinyl.
Yeah, you were telling us about it. What was the description I gave it?
You said it looked like an easy bake oven or something.
Yeah, it was like the easy bake oven of like metal records.
It's something like clear and purple.
It looks cool though.
Oh yeah, they released another version of it that I'm also tempted to buy. That's Swamp Clear.
I mean, I think if you're talking about cover art, I do like the color, the pink, purple, green.
Yeah, with the motorcycle and the witch and the vine.
I do think Distillers does edge it out though, being that.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Crucified, like boob bleeding, is a theme. It's a look. It's a statement.
Yeah.
And was so controversial they had to do another.
Which the other album art isn't bad, but it looks like an album I'd buy for like a kid.
Yeah, they just like cut out different animals and like pasted it on like a sunset kind of thing.
Yeah. Like,
and that's not bad. Like the Coral Fang, like the album art ironically reminds me of Transgender Dysphoria Blues a little bit, and that it's like black and white.
Yeah.
And there's like the body, no crucifixion. Although I think they kind of reference it a little bit in the lyrics, but that's it.
Now, I want to go into a little bit of a tangent onto something else for a little bit, because Dominic, you remember how you asked earlier how album of the week is going?
Yeah.
Your guess, well, we spun just now because the person was a bit late, and guess who is the next album of the week chooser?
You.
Yep, I am now it, and I have the choice between two options: Seismic, which I'm going to see if they go through go for Lost Media, or else I'm going to be picking the album that I'm going to be choosing for next week. Ooh.
I think you got to do Seismic. You've really got to do Seismic.
Yeah, well, it depends. I want to, but it's Lost Media.
They have to pick them.
What's wrong with Lost Media?
Well, because people like to go on Spotify and stuff like that, and not everyone likes YouTube or downloading files.
That's fair. I get that.
But yeah.
Just tell them that they came to Australia and decided it was so cool they had a breakup and just stay there.
Alrighty. Well, I unfortunately don't have too much to say about Witch, so I'm kind of like the third wheel in this conversation.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I'm still gonna put it above Coral Fang.
That's fair. I am too. Like if I'm the eternal number 3 this year, just I do weird picks, that's fine. As long as I'm happy with the pick that I made. And if Coral Fang is like the one I regret the most this year, I'll have a great year.
It's not a bad album. It's just like that.
Yeah,
like
the others are better.
Some of the stuff I picked last year, I definitely will regret more. But if this is as bad as it gets, then I'm cool.
Yeah.
Favorites, least favorites.
Yeah.
Favorite is Isadora, and I don't have.
Seer and Isadora are fantastic. That I pick a least favorite. Soul of Fire or Black Saint probably stand out the least. Black Saint's cool though. It does. And Soul of Fire, I don't know. Maybe I'll just say that. I don't know. It's just all good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about our albums next week then, since you're gonna think of introducing it, Ritalin.
Well, I'd like you two to do yours first, to be honest, and I'd also like us to do the rankings of this week first.
Oh yes, correct. I'm sorry. I just want to hear what you have to pitch us.
Yeah, but my ranking's pretty simple. It's Coral Fang, Witch, and then Avalanches.
Number 1 is Avalanches for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Tricks, number 3 to number 1?
Coral Fang, Avalanches, Witch.
Full agreement. Coral Fang, Avalanches, Witch. Number 1, Witch. That was easy.
You want to go first?
Yeah, everyone know. You two both know what I'm doing. A long time ago, there was a moment where I had a few albums I was choosing between. Ritalin told me to go one way, until I ended up with Thelma Plum. I'm now going, but I'm saying now I'm going back to do the other artist that I wanted to do back then. JPEG Mafia put out an EP at the end of last year, put out another EP this month. So we're going to do both of those. EP and EP2.
Right. I am hyped for that. Because I've been meaning to give him a listen for a while.
I'll even put them in the chat. Yeah, so I want to give JPEG his due. We're going on episode 50. I feel like it's time. 49 is the time.
I'm going to be doing a jazz album.
Oh.
Ooh.
I am going to be doing the album Witch Egg by the band Witch Egg.
Again with this self-titled.
Yeah, sticking with Wig with self-titled.
Interesting enough. So it's kind of like an LSD situation on Spotify here because it's just John Dwyer and then all the names.
Yeah, it's John Dwyer, and it's basically a jazzy OCs album with so much noise in it, and just it's good.
So John Dwyer, Nick Murray, Brad Calkins, Tom Dulles, Greg Coates.
Alrighty. So this one, I'm just gonna build up a bit. So for those who want to guess, too bad. I'm doing my whole thing first. So this is an artist that has been around for a while, but only kind of discovered in the past 2 years or so. I hadn't been so big onto the discography, but I legitimately think that this album that they put out early this year is the best album that they put out by a mile.
Okay.
For those who want the absolute shock and twist, it's Petite League's Joyrider.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I love you. That's fantastic.
I legitimately believe this is their best album. By far. I thought Rattler, I would probably have some hot takes on this chat here because I wasn't so big on their other albums. I would probably say all their albums are like a 5 to a 6 at best. Rattler probably being the 6. This one's easily an 8 to a 9.
Holy shit! All right.
I am actually.
Oh, man.
This is the first time a Petite League album I've ever gone and said, "This is good. I like it start to finish."
Petite League is now the second artist that has made its way around all three of us.
Yeah.
I forgot who the first was.
King Gizzard. We had a whole episode about that.
That's right.
I have to.
My joy. I was gonna spoil at the start and say it was an album that I received today, and I was gonna hope that was gonna be a misguide because I told you all the albums I got, but good chicks would have guessed Petite League instantly.
I have now to redo my web of albums that we've connected to because Petite League and King Gizzard are now going to be in the center of that web, and everything is just going to like expand from there.
Yeah.
Oh my god! All right, this is the best anime reversal of our whole entire show.
Whew.
Fuck that reaction's like the best reaction I've ever caused on this show.
Oh man.
Like you just have Dominic, it's just in full excitement, and then just Trix is just so disappointed that she didn't get to choose it.
Well, I said I was gonna choose it, but I think I needed more time.
I know.
To, like...
I know. I was like, that actually made me go. It's like, do I hold on this? And like, nah, fuck it.
This is perfect. This is absolutely what I want from this show. Oh god! All right. So that's Witch Egg by Witch Egg, EP and EP2 by Jake Peg Mafia. That's my choice. Witch Egg is Trix's choice, and Mr. Ritz here chose Joyrider by Petite League.
What an ending, huh?
man.
Trix is gone.
Oh boy.
Dominic won't be able to move. This is.
Well, I think that's a great ending to the show. This is Dissonant Waves. You can follow us on our website, dissonantwaves.space. We also have a Twitter at Dissonant Waves. Check us out there. Check us out on YouTube if you already probably are by listening to this. I've been Dominic. You can catch me on Twitter at DACICHOCKI. And for now, if you want to read an archive of my writing, tiltedwindmillstudios.com is the best place to do that.
I've been Trix. You can catch me being shocked on Twitter at Procrastronaut. That's like
Yeah,
procrastinating.
I assume Dissonant Waves Twitter right now is just going to be like, I can't believe Riddle and picked Petite League.
And I also have a YouTube channel where I occasionally post bass-related content.
I've been Riddlein. You can catch me at my website, riddlein4kids at github.io, and also probably in a cemetery after Trix has just murdered me. And despite Dominic's many attempts to commit CPR on me, he was way too busy still laughing from this to actually give any help. In fact, I didn't get any electric shocks to my chest. All the jolts were just Dominic laughing.
I am so excited for the next 2 months of things that I have planned and what we're gonna do. I am so hyped now.
I also have a YouTube channel. There is no Petite League on there, but I'll tell you what, I did sample Seismic in a shitty remix.
The best episodes of Dissonant Waves are yet to come. Stay tuned, everybody. The two of you say your goodbyes.
We haven't begun to peak.